Well, because you sort of think, what's wrong with me? Am I not capable of keeping up and doing the work? And just everyone else seems to be doing it and doing fine. What's wrong with me? And why can't
Yeah.
I just be like everyone else? Well, we're not like everyone else. And so
No.
it didn't, honestly, it took me a good 10 more years or so to realize that I was even burned out. At the time, I did not realize it. I just
Right.
thought, I don't know, I'm unhappy in my career. I'm miserable. I literally would take the subway to work every morning. I'd stand on the platform and I would think to myself, do I get on it or do I jump in front of it? That
Oh
was
my gosh.
literally,
That is
yeah.
that is so conflicting. Oh, and here we are. Welcome to Curveball, Zaria. I told you, I promised you I was going to put my glasses on and off about 1,000 times.
I
So,
love it. Look, we match.
you know that moment when your entire life flashes before your eyes because you suddenly realize it's not even your life anymore? Zarya Rubin, or I should say, Dr. Zarya Rubin, neurologist and functional medicine doctor. That sounds like, okay, knows that moment well. After 15 years of training to become a doctor, well, really, a neurologist, I think, which is like a doctor plus. Yes, 15 years. She was on the brink of completing her lifelong dream when a sudden death and a wave of soul crushing burnout, hit at the same time. And just looking at this sweet lady, I can't even imagine what you're like if you're not like this. The dream turned out to be more of a beautifully wrapped trap, and she knew it was time to turn back. Now, today, Zaria has reimagined everything. She's taken her deep expertise in medicine, added her gift for healing, and shifted into a path rooted in wellness, functional medicine, and burnout prevention. And if you do not think that she's enough of a badass, she's actually an opera singer who performed at Carnegie Hall with Andrea Bocelli. Are you kidding me? Because of course, why not? She's living proof that it is never too late to pivot dramatically and that healing can look a lot like taking one thing off your plate, not adding more. This is seriously, Zaria, my whole mantra for the year, doing less and getting more. So welcome to Curveball. I am so glad you're here.
Thank you for having me. I was very excited when I heard about the show. I thought to myself,
I
that
got
sounds
one.
like a show I should
Yes,
be on.
yeah, I love that. So take me to that moment back that sort of derailed your path, the burnout, the grief, like the
Mm.
life altering
Oh my gosh.
realization. Can
Yeah.
you take us back to that moment? And then, so it's so interesting at a time like that. A lot of times people really like lean into the burnout because it's like this great distraction, or they lean into something. And so you simultaneously had a loss, and then I guess it sort of feels like a secondary loss because it sounds like you walked away from something. I get after 15 years of, I bet, oh my God, how
Yeah.
did you tell your
Yeah.
parents? Okay, tell me everything.
Yeah. So it's even longer than that because if you think about it, it was one of, a lifelong dream that I had
Mm,
always wanted to be a doctor since I was 5 years old. And I was, living the dream. I had gone to medical school and did pre-med and residency, and I was completing a fellowship in a subspecialty of neurology in epilepsy at Columbia in New York. I was living in New York City,
oh my
supposedly
gosh, right.
living the dream, right? And then, it really was becoming a nightmare, but I hadn't fully realized it. I was, in one of those situations. I use this analogy a lot when I work with patients and clients, and it's the frog in the boiling water analogy. So,
Yes.
like when you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, what is it going to do?
Just sit there and
No,
tell
it's
it
going to
it's
jump out.
dead.
If it's
Oh no,
boiling
no,
water,
sorry.
it's
Yes,
going
the
to jump.
opposite. Yes, it's going to
Heather.
jump out. I'm so sorry. I
Right.
use this analogy all the time, but
Right. But
okay.
if you put the
Yes.
frog in room temperature water and slowly turn the heat up 1 degree at a time so that eventually it gets to the boiling point, it won't notice because it's
Yes.
been in the water for so long, and the shifts are so subtle but dramatic over time. But it's not all at once. So I think I had just become accustomed to my way of being, which was
Mm,
severe exhaustion, dealing with death and dying all the time, being in
mm,
a hospital setting, which was very triggering to me. I did not know at the time that I was also suffering from severe complex PTSD as a result of childhood trauma, a lot of
mm.
medical trauma, which had guided me into a career in medicine and yet was
Yes.
my self-sabotage as well. So I'm at this point where I'm supposed to be at the top of my career and living the dream and being, really happy. And I really wasn't. And I sort of thought, gosh, is this just what adulting feels like?
Right.
Am I supposed to this is my life now? And I was just thinking about ways I could, you know, not do this anymore, but I couldn't imagine it because I had been doing it for so long, the sort of
Right.
sunk costs fallacy and, the literal costs of all of that training and all of those years and years and decades of education. It's very expensive. So I thought I don't, and then I couldn't process the idea of, changing my whole identity. If I'm not
Right.
practicing medicine, if I'm not a doctor, what am I doing? And more importantly, who even am I? Because
Mm,
am just a job.
yes.
It's an identity.
So I started my business because, well, in a just sort of a funny way, I got fired from my job because I was so completely burnt out. But then the company that fired me rehired me as a full time consultant. So, like, I ended up having like this. It was someone's like, how could a company fire
Win.
you and then rehire you? And I'm like, well, because I was great at the work, I was not great at the relationships. And so, one of the things is like, it took me, I want to say about 3 years to honestly admit that I had been burnt out. Like, I feel like do you feel like
Oh,
there's a lot of shame around burnout for some reason?
100%. I think that there's a lot of
Why
shame and
is
guilt.
that?
Well, because you sort of think, what's wrong with me? Am I not capable of keeping up and doing the work? And just everyone else seems to be doing it and doing fine. What's wrong with me? And why can't
Yeah.
I just be like everyone else? Well, we're not like everyone else. And so
No.
it didn't, honestly, it took me a good 10 more years or so to realize that I was even burned out. At the time, I did not realize it. I just
Right.
thought, I don't know, I'm unhappy in my career. I'm miserable. I literally would take the subway to work every morning. I'd stand on the platform and I would think to myself, do I get on it or do I jump in front of it? That
Oh
was
my gosh.
literally, yeah.
That is so conflicting. Well, because you have all these dreams. Like, I just know, like, I have a friend who became a intensive care nurse.
Oh,
And after her corporate career, 'cause she was like a huge like Six Sigma person. She's like, I'm gonna Six Sigma the shit out of hospitals. And
well,
then
yeah,
she was like the hierarchy of the doctors and the culture of, she's like, it was
it's a
like
lot.
nothing she ever anticipated. So to her, she was like, wait, I feel like there was sort of a bait and switch a little bit,
Yeah, it's
really getting there.
it's not what you think necessarily when, I had this image and this fantasy of what being a doctor was, like it is on
Right.
TV or, you're saving lives and it's beautiful and the reality of it. And you don't realize the reality of it until you are so far down the path. Like
Mm,
you have to start thinking about it when you're so young and start
right.
investing. And then you're in school for years and years and years and years. So I had blinders on. I had my head down. I was, very hardworking. I was an overachiever, was a perfectionist. I don't know about Six Sigma, but I was
Yeah.
really,
Yeah. Right.
I was a good little worker. And I don't know what would have happened if something dramatic hadn't shifted and changed my
Right.
entire life and perspective. So one night, I was in my fellowship, just going along, doing whatever I was doing, putting one foot in front of the other, but being utterly, you know, miserable and almost like a zombie going through the motions. And I got a phone call. And, it was a wake up call that was literally a phone call from my best friend from medical
Hmm.
school. And she told me that her husband had been playing frisbee, collapsed, and they rushed him to the hospital and they tried to resuscitate him. And I said, well, but he's okay, right? And she said, no, he didn't make it.
And how old were you at that time?
35.
Oh, yeah. So not,
Yeah. So it's like a young, healthy
oh,
person who was almost my
right.
age. I was turning 35 and I thought to myself, that could have been me. It
Mm,
could be me. And my whole life flashed before my eyes, my own mortality became really
right.
more real and more salient. And I thought, I cannot do this anymore. I can't live my life like this anymore.
How long was the news that your friend had passed away to you feeling that way to you taking action?
So it took a little bit of time because I had to have the realization first and I had to sink in.
Mhm.
I was in shock and grief. And when I
Yes.
flew to help her and it was just like, it was very intense. And then I just thought, okay, I need to take steps to extricate myself from the life that I have created for myself. And so that was in, let's see, June. By I took the whole summer, was still working, but was dancing tango every day. So I discovered tango dancing. No joke. I think tango dancing kind of
Oh,
saved my life.
oh my
Um,
God. I bet because you're just
yeah,
like, do, 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 do.
yes, and it's
Yes.
so intense
It
and it's
must be
so
so dramatic. It
emotional,
must be so much fun.
passionate, and I had not felt anything for a very long time
Right.
because you have this sort of depersonalization, derealization
Hmm.
sort of distancing. You feel very cut off when you're in burnout. You're just kind of in low level survival mode. And I wasn't really feeling anything. And then all of a sudden, I'm like listening to this beautiful music and I'm dancing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I had decided at that point that I was going to go to Argentina. I had decided even before this, I was planning this for a while.
Right.
And so I took my friend, my best friend, and we went to Argentina that fall. And that's when I really knew it. I knew that when I came back, I was going to formally resign. And I did. I did.
So I give you so much credit. So tell me about that day. Like, how did you feel going into it? Then how did you feel coming out of it?
It was really terrifying. I had a very, very supportive program director, thankfully. He was an incredible man and he was very sympathetic almost to what I was saying. And he didn't mock me. He didn't say this is ridiculous. You have to stick with it. He actually admitted that he himself had had doubts over the years and that, that sometimes you have to play it out. Like, because I had all kinds of regrets and second guessing my decisions and my choices. And I often
Right.
still have them like, why did I go down this road and this path in medicine? And maybe I should have done something else. And he says, you might have always wondered what if you hadn't done it. But now you've
Right.
done it.
Yes.
And I do acknowledge that because I did take a little break from medicine after college and I went to opera school. So I sort of considered doing other things, but it kept drawing me back and I kept thinking,
Right.
this is my calling. I have to do this.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like sometimes, like when we second guess decisions like that, it's like, but at that time, that was the best choice. That was the best option. And so we have to honor like who we, because it's not like that voice was saying, you know what we should do? Start robbing convenience stores and get hooked on heroin. And you're just like, yeah, let's do that. Like, I mean, it's definitely a noble cause. And it was a dream. You're like, oh, but wait, I also robbed convenience stores.
No.
Yep. Okay. Your motto is do one thing less. And that feels almost revolutionary, especially in a world that's just obsessed with this whole idea of doing more, getting more. I work with a lot of female founders and entrepreneurs, and just the amount of work they take on because there's sort of this expectation that if you're not completely overwhelmed, you're not doing it right for some reason. So after last summer, I had this issue with my brain and I really wanted to keep things slow. Like I didn't want to go back because I've had a really amazing recovery to just go back to the hustle and the way things were beforehand. And then, this issue with my brain just was like a weird thing that happened in 2024. And so I am all about keeping it low and slow. And it's amazing. It's when you break through sort of oh, I feel like I'm behind, which you're not. That's just a lame excuse the voice inside your head tries to use. But talk to me about do one thing less, because that's like, even how do you use that? How does it work?
Yeah. So it's really a simple concept that I came up with working with patients. And I would have these patients in front of me and they would have chronic illness and chronic fatigue and all of these issues. And, you'd have good days and bad days. And on their good days, they would literally try to do everything. Like, oh, and then I did
Right.
this and this and this and this. Oh, and then I slept for 3 days. I was like, girl, what are you doing? So I said to her, I said, do you think you could try, you know, doing less? Like just take one thing off your plate. And she was like, huh. And so we kind of came up with this concept. And, it really does go counter to the whole notion of, you have to be doing and doing and busy and busy. And, we have our phones, our home offices, our office attached to us 24/7. We never used to have this. You used to be able to separate, work
No,
from life
like
more
I
and
remember
have
leaving for work, you could bring paperwork home.
some
Like you
breathing
could
room.
print
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
and then make edits like on a printed thing. Like, I mean, there
You're
really wasn't.
constantly reachable. There's
Yeah,
text and phone and chat and messaging and emails and, there's no separation and there's no ability to just kind of press pause a little bit and say, you know
right.
what? My nervous system needs time to reset. My brain needs time to reset. My body and stress hormones and the cortisol. And I think that you get to a certain point in life where you get some sort of wake up call. And
Yes.
I have had plenty of physical ones as well and medical ones. And then after I quit my job, I quit medicine. I went, from frying pan to fire and I worked at a startup. And then I was an executive, excuse me, at a pharmaceutical company. And and just kept doing these very stressful, high stakes things because that's what was familiar to me. That's what
Right.
I knew.
Oh,
And I
how
thought,
interesting.
I was like, oh, yeah, I can keep working as hard as possible, even outside of medicine. There's plenty of ways to work yourself to death because it felt familiar.
Yes.
And then I
That's
was
so
just
well
like,
said.
okay, you know what they say? They say, if you don't make time for wellness, your body will make time for illness. And
I have never heard that. I
we
swear to
haven't.
God, I'm going to
Yeah,
start making
it's
bumper
big in the
stickers.
wellness field and functional medicine. It's
Yeah.
big in that
Wait,
we
say
say
that
this.
again. If you don't
If
make room
you
for
don't make
wellness,
time for wellness, your
yes.
body will make time for illness.
Oh my God. I swear to God, I was interviewing somebody last week and for curveball, and I'm like, I'm just going to make bumper stickers of the things people say on curveball.
Yes,
And that's
yes,
like, that's
yes,
my bumper sticker right
yes,
there.
because your body has what I like to say a check engine light that will
Oh,
come on.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
We can be very capable of ignoring them. I know doctors are often the worst patients. And when I was in early motherhood, I was sick as a dog and my resting heart rate was 130. And did I think that that was normal? Yes, I did. I ended up having severe hyperthyroidism and had to be treated for that and, autoimmune disease. Yes, because of all of the cumulative burnout and stress and trauma.
Oh
But
my
I
gosh.
somehow justified that as like, well, I'm just stressed. Being a mom is
Right.
difficult. I have a young baby and a toddler, and like that's just really hard. And
Well, I'm glad like you're a doctor too, because like one of the things I realized and I in my own situation, and then I've chatted with quite a few people who've had like medical curveballs on curveball. And we all agree that our bodies give us clues so far ahead. Like I remember being in yoga and just saying, God, my legs are so tired, or my legs feel so heavy. Like I wonder why my legs feel so heavy, or I wonder why like my fingers won't bend. This finger still doesn't go down with the other ones. But it's
and
like,
you're like, how do we justify this and
yeah, but
rationalize
then
this?
at the same time, like I go back and I think about that, and I don't know like what I would have said to a doctor. Like, hey, what do you do? Okay, so now it seems pretty obvious. I could say, hey, doctor, I practice hot yoga. I'm really in tune with my body. There's something weird going on that my legs feel heavy. Like, I guess it would just be going to the doctor. And then,
And you may have been dismissed, honestly.
oh, yeah, right.
I mean, I'm not gonna, I know not to throw my colleagues under the bus, but I think in medicine, we are very poor at recognizing the very, very, very early warning signs of not
Mm,
quite disease. Like in functional medicine, we call it dis-ease. So it's like you're not quite 100% well, but you're not quite diagnosable, but things are off. There is an imbalance.
yes.
There is some sort of system dysfunction that has not fully manifested. And that is a point at which we should be able to help people and intervene and hopefully
Right.
catch things really early.
Well, you said something that, so it would be maybe seeing, not going to my regular MD, but finding a functional doctored.
Possibly. I mean,
Yes.
that is how we are trained. We are trained to really just look at signs and symptoms and labs and things and look at the most subtle changes. So, you might go to a regular doctor and your labs will be normal. But if you go to a functional
Hmm.
medicine doctor, they might say, well, your labs are within the normal range, but given you and your symptoms and your background, and they are not quite right. They are not optimal
Mm,
and they reflect a pattern that may indicate this. And let's
right.
try something and intervene. And, in your situation, like that's a really tricky
Yeah,
diagnosis. And so
yeah, because it was a brain aneurysm. So
they
I'm
may,
sure, and
yeah, I
even like
mean,
when I knew things, I went to six different specialists,
I was
figure it out.
yes, I was a neurologist. I trained in
Yeah,
neurology and
neurology
neurosurgery.
comes
And if
last.
someone said that my legs are heavy, yeah, and brain aneurysm is not even like I don't even know that it's very low down on the list as what I would
Right.
think it would
Yes.
be. And
Yes.
so, my goodness, so thankful that you were able to get help and get a diagnosis and get treatment. And holy moly, like that's just incredible.
Yeah, I had amazing doctors, so, which I'm really grateful for. But you go to see like one specialist and it's not that. So then you're a free agent and it's not that.
Right.
And
And
then when
people
I
are assigned
knew
to
it
such a
wasn't like,
narrow,
yeah,
small piece of the human body when it's all interconnected. And so
yes.
you need people with more of a bird's eye view who can piece it together.
Yeah, it was really, I had really amazing doctors. And I really do feel like I had everything done like lightning speed. Like I
Yeah.
had so many
Incredible.
angels clearing the path because I had tickets to see Pearl Jam in Montana on August 23rd. And I was just like, I gotta be able to go to that show. I have to. And we did. My husband and I road tripped, and it was so fun. We had planned it before everything was, so fine, so we planned it before I knew even anything was up. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope we can go. So I do find it's always good to have a goal in mind too. Like sometimes like
Yeah.
that really helped to keep me like on the up. So
But
talk to me.
so we diverged so far from the back to the do one thing less concept,
Yeah,
which I can keep going on because I was like, we can talk for hours, Heather. But and I didn't want to cut you off.
no, 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 because I do want to talk more about this because I love,
Yeah.
keep on going. Yes.
So I'll wrap that up and then I'd love to hear your next thought. But so the way I explain it to people is that it's sort of a radical mental shift of rather than trying to
Mm,
do it all and do more and keep adding to your plate, you are reprioritizing things and thinking like, is this absolutely necessary? Do I absolutely
mm.
have to do this? And do I have to do it right now or today? And
What's an
so,
example of
yeah,
that? Either
for
from one of your
example, yeah,
clients or like in your
100%.
life?
I use this with myself every day. Like I'm running around and running errands and I'm like, I have to go here and here and here. And I'm like, but do I really? Do I
Right.
really need to get groceries today? We have plenty of food. I can do it
Right.
tomorrow. Rather than you're running around, you're driving around, you're downtown, you're parking. Maybe you get an offender bender, maybe you get a parking ticket, maybe because you're trying to do too many things. And then
Right.
when you
Right.
take that thing off of your plate, that sense of sort of relief that you feel, you have that extra breathing room is really
Right.
powerful. The other analogy that I use is the concept of you're clearing the table after dinner or a dinner party. And you've got all these plates stacked up and you're stacking them, you're carrying them, you're balancing everything. And there's like one pesky cup that's still sitting on the table.
Right.
And what are you going to do with the cup, right? Well, you're going to pick it up and add it to the pile, and
Yes.
everything is going to crash down. And then,
Right. Well,
then you have to
because
clean up
every woman knows we're only making one
one
trip,
trip.
like one trip. Like you
But
should see
that's
the way
wrong.
you should see how I
So
walk
the
up my
corollary of do
steps.
one thing less is make
Yes.
multiple trips, right? So
Yes,
you think, oh,
totally.
but I'm
Yes.
doing less
Yes.
and I'm going to be less productive. No, you're going to save all this time not sweeping up broken glass and not having to
Right.
purchase a whole new set of dishes and be like, oh
Right.
my God, now we don't have dishes. We've got to get takeout. We've got to do this.
Yes.
It's so, yeah,
So,
it's just this prioritization and reimagining in your brain really of like, okay, do I have to do it all and do it all at once? The answer
right.
is no, you don't.
So, like, I get it when you're talking about, like, do I need to run this errand or can I make two trips? But What about when it is like your job or your career? Like, where do
Yeah.
you,
I think it's
how do
the same,
you,
honestly.
how
I
does
think
that
it is
work in that?
exactly the same. I think that the analogy that I use in a work setting is like, let's say you've got back to back meetings. You got this meeting.
Yeah,
Cancel one, turn one into an email, move one to a different day. Just be like, you know what? I
right,
cannot be effective and productive in five back to back meetings. It's just not,
right,
I'm not doing anyone a service. I'm not doing myself a service and I'm not doing my colleagues or clients a service because I'm not
right.
giving them my best.
That would
And
have felt like when I was a corporate gal.
it feels impossible.
I remember
Impossible.
having meetings literally where I would be eating saltines, like oyster crackers from like someone's, and ketchup and like Jolly Ranchers for lunch
Yes. Yes.
because you're
Yes.
just sitting at your desk, back to back meetings, like sometimes like 8 hours of meetings, and then you still have your work to finish.
Right.
And then half the people are
It's
on
not
there, oh gosh,
sustainable.
it's just like, yeah. So that's like taking control of your schedule. So I know
Right.
that saying that
Boundaries,
deferring a meeting is freaking
prioritization.
people out. So let's give
Yes.
them some
Yes.
motivation.
Yeah. So I think it really comes down to a question of being able to set boundaries. And setting
Mhm.
boundaries for women is really hard. Saying
Yes.
no
Why
is
is
really
that?
hard. Well,
Society.
it's really complex, but it goes back. I think, if there's different theories, but, in history that women, we have always sort of been the nurturers and the caregivers. And like,
Mhm.
we didn't really have a lot of our own agency. We weren't allowed to like own property or have a credit card or have our
Or
own
vote.
but
Yes.
wrote anything. So we relied on the acceptance of others, men,
Yeah.
for our safety, for our belonging, for, and our likability, because that was the only
Right.
currency that we had.
Gosh, I remember when my parents separated. My mom, this is in the 70s, but my grandma and grandpa had to drive from Wisconsin and co-sign my grandpa had to co-sign for my mom because she could not get her own bank account. Isn't that just,
Yeah. It's not that long ago.
yeah,
So
it's
I
in my
think as women,
lifetime.
we are kind of hardwired to be people
Mm,
pleasers,
yeah,
to put everyone else's needs above our own, to never say no. And, I mean, there's a limit to that. And we pay the price, we suffer.
right.
The
So
cost
where should
becomes our well
people,
being and our health, our physical and mental health.
if this is sort of resonating with someone, they're like, I would love to do less, to do one less thing. Like, where's a good place to start where they'll have like, is it just shifting just one meeting this week?
Just
Maybe
start
just
low
one.
stakes or start in your personal life if it's too scary to do it at work.
Okay,
Start on
tell
the
me more about
weekend.
that.
So on the
Mm,
weekend, you're booked. You've got a Pilates class, and then you've got to take the kid here, and then you've got to go meet people for brunch, and then you've got to go to a play, or it's like it's too many things. Even
right.
if they're fun things, it's too many
Is
things.
there like sort of a
Cross them
sweet
off.
spot for the number of things like you can do in a day? Is there an optimal number?
When it gets to be more than three for me, like even fun personal things a day, I'm like, what are you doing, girl? Like,
Right.
and so even tomorrow. So tomorrow I had booked some sort of a hot yoga weight training class. And then I'm
Hmm,
going to
naughty
the
nut.
farmer's
Yes.
market. And then I know. And then I am cooking dinner for 10 people. It's Passover. So then I was like, no, you know what? I have
Oh
to
my God.
cancel this class, even though it's going to be fun and it's going to be good for my body and weight training and all that stuff. I was like, I just can't do it this particular day. And it's okay.
Right. Yeah.
It's okay to take that. And so I canceled it and I was like, okay. Cause when it was on my schedule, I was like, I don't know that I'm going to be able to do everything. And maybe I
Right.
can
Yeah.
do everything, but it's going to feel terrible. It's going to feel rushed. It's going to feel pressured. It's going to feel like if anything goes wrong, if you hit a traffic jam, if something burns in the oven, you are
Right.
screwed. And
Right.
it's like, you don't want to live
Yes.
in that sense of like, it's you're counting on the universe, on everything working perfectly. Otherwise, everything's derailed. When does that
Right.
ever happen? It never works. There's always something that
Right.
give
Right.
yourself more breathing room so you are creating less intrinsic stress in your life.
Yeah, that's true. Like the stillness and creating that time to rest, to just be still, which is can be you have to work through some discomfort of doing that. Like one of the things I've been doing, and this is so weird to do, is when, I have my list of things to do and I have a very specific way of organizing my stuff. And the other day, and I'm going to stop working when I'm done with all my work. So the other day, I legit was done at 10 a.m. And I was like, what are you going to do? And then I was like, okay, you should work a little more. Like you have like the whole day. Like I had the
Yeah.
whole day. And you know what I did? I went to a plant store. I started in my garden. Like I had to really resist the urge to work. So I really did that
Yes.
on purpose because I don't want to just fill in time with work when I made this deal with myself that when my work is done, my day is done.
You could work, like I said, to infinity and beyond because of the fact that we have our offices and our computers and our phones. You could work
Gosh,
24/7,
yes.
especially as a solo entrepreneur, as a business person. Your job it never ends. So you have
Right.
to set some limits and some boundaries. And I think that, our current, capitalistic patriarchal society, to throw around those words, is
Right.
so oriented around doing. Like you said,
Yes.
I have to do, and what am I doing? And I have to do more, and I have to do more work and do. When you are constantly doing, there is no space for being.
Right. Yes. Like I like to read the Tao. Like that is totally like if I was going to pick, like, I guess, a religion or path of spirituality, the Tao is like my jam because I feel
I
like
love it.
it tells you to do by not doing.
Yes.
Like totally. Because it's like, just like when you're done with your work, just step back, do by not doing.
And
My
and
favorite line is like the master, when she's done with her work, she steps back because she's finished. It's like
yes. And
amazing. Yeah.
and it gives you time to truly, you know, experience things. And
Yes.
oftentimes, if we just do, we're never satisfied. So we don't
Mm-mm.
get time to sit and rest and think, I really did a good job with that. Or how do I feel
Right.
about this project? Maybe it's not something that I like, but I'm so used to doing it. And then if you
Right.
don't take that pause to question or to evaluate, you're gonna keep doing it. And then you're gonna be like, why am I so miserable? I don't know. I
Right.
wouldn't know why I'm miserable
Yes.
because I never take time to assess it. And I
Right.
think that's
Oh my
how I got
gosh.
so far down the road in medicine because you are constantly doing. I mean, you have studying and work and exams and
The badge
long
of
hours and
honor
being
of
on
no
call.
sleep and tough teachers and all that stuff. It's
You
like,
definitely wear it like a badge of honor. The busyness, the hustle, and like the joke that I made in my TED talk was like, I learned this fascinating medical fact when I was, in training, and that's doctors don't pee. We don't pee because there's no time, right?
my God, I would never be able to be a doctor.
I mean,
I go to the bathroom, like,
it's insane. Of course we do, but it's like you tell yourself that you cannot take a break. It's
yeah, that is
really,
just,
it's a
well, I
cultural
just know
imperative.
that feeling when I get tired, or if I, especially when I worked corporately, there were nights where I would pull like all nighters. And you
Yeah,
can do that for a couple of nights and still
yeah,
like, but I'm not, I'm doing like marketing or like a
yeah,
presentation or something. Like, I'm not like
yeah.
saving anyone's life,
And I mean, look, there are
so
seasons. I am not going to tell people, do one thing less or whatever when you have a newborn. I mean, but even then, actually, I'm
no,
going to
even
contradict
then you
myself.
can. Yeah.
You can outsource laundry. You can outsource cooking. You can outsource anything that doesn't have to do with the baby. And I
Right.
think as moms, as we try to do it all, it's like that's impossible. But I
Yes.
guess what I'm trying to say is that yes, there are seasons where you're going to be working a lot
Right.
harder, or there's a deadline, or there's a project, but it is not sustainable. It is a short
Right.
period of very hard, intensive work. But then we somehow create that as the new normal. And then
Yeah.
we get used to that level of intensity. And it is almost a bit addictive. I mean, stress is addictive in and of itself,
I
just by
think you get
nature of
used
the
to like
adrenaline rush.
whatever that chemical reaction is going on in your body, you do sort of get used to it.
Yes. And you
But
get
I
used to
always think,
function on that high level of stress
well,
hormones.
when you get an idea, like people a lot of times I get ideas when I'm brushing my teeth. People a lot of times get ideas in the shower because in the
The
shower when
water,
you're
the
brushing your
water.
teeth,
For me,
yeah,
it's
you're
the
not
water
thinking
flowing.
about,
Yeah.
oh my God, I never even
The water.
correlated that. Oh my God, so smart. So, but you have these ideas, and it's like you're just completely just in the moment. You're not thinking, you're not trying, you're not achieving, you're not manipulating, you're not doing anything. You're just brushing your teeth, and you're just like, oh, that's like when the good idea, like, I just want to advocate, I want to be pro stillness because it's in
Yeah.
those moments of stillness that you get the inspiration, that you get the big ideas. But if you're constantly moving, it's one of the things I've learned is like if your body is congested, like I see this Chinese medicine guy. So we always talk about my chi and
The
blood,
tea. Yeah.
the chi, which is your life force blood. And so I've been having these issues with my feet. And he's like, you have no chi and blood flowing in your feet. And I just thought, gosh, that's so smart. So even if I'm walking, doing yoga, doing all my PT, everything like I should be doing, there's no place for the healing to even go
Right.
because I'm congested. And so I think like when we have that anxiety, that creates all different kinds of blocks and
Hmm.
gates
Hmm.
like in our body that just keeps all the good stuff out.
Totally. I agree.
Oh my God. So if someone's like in feeling stuck and they want to make these changes, but they're afraid, or like let's say there's someone like you who's just been like, I've been an attorney, I'm a partner of a law firm, and I'm just completely miserable or something. They're afraid, but they don't know what it means to walk away. What should they look for, and how can they begin to imagine a different kind of future, even if the road is not clear yet?
Okay, well that's so fascinating that you used that word because I was about to drop another like bumper sticker for you that is
Yes.
what got me through and got me out of medicine was this Turkish proverb that says, no matter how far you've gone down the wrong road, turn back.
Wait. I say that again. Say that again. Say that again. That is so amazing. I love this.
No matter how far you've gone down the wrong road, turn back.
Turn back. Oh, oh,
Right? Because
I am serious. Like I have goosebumps on my cheeks. So you know that it full body.
yeah, that is what got me out of
Oh,
medicine because I could not wrap my head around the concept. I thought, but I've been doing it for so long, but I've invested so much, but it's how can I quit? It's impossible. I can't. And you have to allow that space in your mind
mm,
to allow the possibility that if this is truly the wrong path for me, continuing to go down it will only take me further and further and further from my destination.
yes.
And if you're
Oh my
driving to
gosh.
Alaska, you are never going to get to Florida. Like you can keep going and you are just never going to get there.
Yes.
So, you've got to turn around at some point, better sooner than later. But even if you're 3 days
Right.
into your drive to Ohio and you've been driving, in the wrong direction, you have to turn around. And
Right.
so I think
Oh God. Yes.
allowing women that freedom and that permission
Mm,
is huge. Now, obviously, you don't have to blow up your life in one fell swoop like I did
right.
and
Yeah.
jump off a
Right.
cliff and hope that a parachute appears because it's
Yes.
really scary.
Well,
And I
and it
don't necessarily
will. Like
advocate that.
a parachute always appears this
Yeah,
summer.
but
You might not
you can
think.
make change.
Yeah.
Maybe being a partner isn't the dream. Maybe
Right.
working at a different law firm is a better fit for you. Maybe doing nonprofit is a better fit. Maybe being a consultant is a better fit for you.
Hmm.
There's so many things that we can do. We have a very narrow concept of what it is that we can do with our education,
Right.
our training, but education's education and intelligence is intelligence. And you can, there's so many ways to use your gifts and your talents and your energy and your time in the world. And if it's not the right thing,
Right.
you can find something else.
Right. And I just think one of the things I love about first of all, you are just literally this radiant human being who's just throwing off so much great
Thank you.
energy. And I feel like if this person, this human being, like I can see you as a little girl just being like, oh my gosh, I really want to help people and work with people.
Yes.
And then to have not have that like be part of it. So I'm so grateful that you had the courage to walk away. So thank
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Yeah.
So Zaria, if people are like, I want to learn more I want to learn, I want to do one less thing. Like
Yeah.
how can people connect with you? How can they work with
Sure.
you? Tell
A
me
couple ways.
everything.
Number one, you can head over to my website, which is just www.drzarya.com. And there is a free download for you there of a burnout toolkit That is the Burnout to
Mm.
Balance Toolkit. So that's free. You can go on there. You can check things out. You can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Zarya Rubin, and that's where I post all the good stuff. And then I am launching a podcast next month.
What
Yes,
is it going to be called?
called Outsmart Burnout.
Oh
And
my gosh, I love
yeah.
that.
And so we've got some amazing guests lined up, and it's going to be really fun. It focuses on helping, smart, driven women in midlife break free from burnout to reclaim their power, purpose, and
Mhm.
joy. And so it's going to be really great. So check that out. You can get on the mailing list and wait list to get info about that.
Right.
And then I am also going to be launching a private women's community. Going
What's
to
that
be
called? Do you have a
uh,
name yet?
well, it's probably going to be Outsmart Burnout as well, but I
I
mean,
love
like the
that.
Outsmart Burnout Lounge. I haven't quite nailed down the name yet, but it's going to
I
be
like that. The lounge.
like
Well,
a
and it implies like
membership.
we're
Yeah,
relaxing there.
yeah, it's a
Like,
monthly membership where you hang out and there's some education, there's some group coaching. I'm going to integrate functional medicine in with
mm,
the burnout concept so that people can learn all these things. They can help put it into practice. I'm going to focus on teaching some meditation, some breath work, changes in sleep, changes in diet, what labs to ask your doctor for, things like that. So
oh,
look out for that as
amazing.
well. And that's what I've got coming up on the horizon. And in the future, I'm hopefully going to be offering some retreats because
Amazing.
travel is, my love language. And to be able to put all this together and do it in a beautiful location, either somewhere in
Oh,
Oregon on the
yeah.
Oregon coast or somewhere out there in the world, somewhere hot and sunny would be great too.
Oh my gosh, that sounds incredible. I think I
Yeah.
love retreats because you're just so open,
Oh, the
to
best.
everything and to the experience.
I'm
Like
a
it really
retreat
is,
junkie.
especially
I've
when you're
been
out
on
of
so
your,
many. Yeah. And I'm like,
yeah.
now I want to do them. So,
May I recommend Nosara, Costa Rica?
oh, I have heard of that place.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
that's on my
just, if
list.
I can put in my vote, just
Yeah,
FYI, yes.
yeah. Oh my gosh.
Zaria, this has been an absolute pleasure. And I love helping to banish burnout
Me
100%.
too. My
It
mission.
is
Yeah.
not a badge of honor. It's literally,
No, it's
it's
killing us.
crushing
I
us.
mean, it's killing
Yeah.
us.
It's
Yeah,
like, you're
literally.
just
Yeah,
like, no,
yeah,
I'm a doctor. I can actually say this.
yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for being
so
on
much, Heather. It was
Curveball.
such a pleasure. You're awesome,
Thank
and I
you.
can't wait for the show.
Thanks.